Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining this month's Top Use Cases webinar series by Cortex XOR Marketplace. Today, we're going to be hearing from Titanium and Zimperium. From Palo Alto Networks, I'm your host for today's webinar, Emily Laufer, Product Marketing Manager for the Cortex XOR Marketplace. And as we get started, I just wanted to run through a couple items, and I'm going to launch a quick poll to see how long have you been using Cortex XOR, or is this your first time hearing about us? Are you new, never used it before? And if so, you should be checking out our community edition to see all the powerful features of this awesome SOAR platform. All right, so you will be muted for audio quality. However, you can use the chat feature down below to ask questions throughout the entire event. We will be pausing periodically to answer those questions, and we'll also address a lot of them at the very end of the webinar. So another quick announcement is that we have, let's see, hopefully this doesn't end the poll when I launch it, but I have a product update for you. The Cortex XOR mobile app has actually gotten a refresh and has come out now with two-factor authentication. So if you haven't checked this out, this is an amazing feature of Cortex XOR. And as you get back on the go, now that we're kind of getting into post-pandemic, starting to get into live events again, hopefully everything with holding, you can now stay connected with Cortex XOR. You can view your incidents and investigations, and you don't need to drag your laptop around to different conferences, events, going in between. Anything if you're in security and you have to be on call all the time, now you have your phone to quickly respond to things within that app. So if you were waiting for that two-factor authentication, check it out. It is here. Let's see these poll results. All right, so it looks like most of you have never used XOR before, 63%. Awesome, welcome to the webinar. And check out our other webinars if you need more of an overview of all the features of Cortex XOR. But hopefully you find today really useful of these amazing content packs. So first up, we have Pakshi Rajan, VP of Products for Titanium. And Pakshi was an architect and a city planner in Pasadena before he entered cybersecurity. He says that there's even a couple of buildings still standing, which good thing, right, Pakshi? And I would love to hear the story about how you came from being an architect and a city planner into cybersecurity. And so someday when we meet live, I hope that you get to tell me that story. All right, and stay tuned for the second half after Pakshi. We're going to be hearing from Zimperium and looking at their use case as well. Pakshi, when you're ready, go ahead, take it away. And I know you're going to start off with a poll as well.
Yeah, let's go to the next one. So I have a poll question here. What is your current outlook towards SOC and SOAR, and what describes your current situation the best? So if you take a couple of seconds and answer this question, we can move on to the next one.
Let's see if we can, so all the answers here we have, I'm looking for enforcing privacy for sensitive data within our SOC, and you can select multiple answers on this too. Interested in protecting the SOAR data from being stolen by attackers. That's a critical one. Looking to put in place zero trust architecture within the SOC. Looking to harden protection for our sensitive security data, and all of the above or none of the above. I'm here to learn. So take a few minutes to answer that, and we'll share the results here. Pakshi, where are the buildings, or what are the buildings that are still standing that you helped with?
No, there's actually a couple in India that I saw.
Oh,
recently,
really?
And it's still good. And the city of Pasadena was part of the general plan team. And you're asking, how did they make the transition over? It takes 30 years for the general plan to actually materialize. That's why it takes software.
It's much faster development cycles, right?
Exactly.
All right,
There's nothing called agile. Is the results there?
Should we try the results? Let's see.
Yeah. Let's see.
Okay.
There we go.
Wow. A spread. So we
a
have
lot of people here to learn. There's a good amount of people who is looking to harden the SOC, sensitive data in the SOC. It's very good, very good.
Yes.
So I have content prepared just for this purpose, which is pleasing zero trust architecture and whatnot. So let's just go with the slides. So in a SOC, right, we have a lot of roles. We don't, it's not just one person or one kind of persona. You have people who respond to alerts, people who, work on incidents. Like if there's an escalated incident that is not automatically responded, you have an orchestration, you have all the information, somebody's working on it. You have subject matter expert on various technical aspects. You have threat hunters, etc. And then there is a SOC admin or SOC manager. The question is, like, do all of them have to see all the, all the data at all the time? Right? The answer is no. Like you have, the need for privacy is actually quite strong within the SOC, where not everybody has to be able to see all the sensitive data. A SOC receives all kinds of sensitive data. There's log data coming in, so you pretty much know what is happening in every endpoint, maybe even every end user device. You have threat intel feeds, user behavior data, who's logging in from the 4th floor or 8th floor. You have that data. So it's really, should everybody be able to see all the data, right? So the answer is technically no, because you have the most sensitive data should only be exposed to the admins and the more senior SOC team members. So that's the idea, right? It's this animation 1 of 2. Let me see if I can actually just. Maybe not. Okay. All right. So so that's the first premise, that not everybody should be able to see all the data within the SOC. The second one is the current trend of ransomware extortion. So what's happening is that in the past we are happy with just encrypting the data with just at rest. So you have file system encryption, great, that was good enough. And then at some point we found that file system encryption is not sufficient. We need to also protect it while it is in transit, right? So TLS came, that's also great. Now the question is that you have a database. In every application that is worth using has a database. Now this database has an access, right? It has access to the clear text from the file system, and the database credentials, when they are exposed, they have opened up a completely new attack surface area, right? So you have, let's say, for example, in an xsoar instance, you have a Bolt DB, or you have an Elastic or something that's the backend. If somebody gets hold of the access to that layer, right, of application, the data store, that exposes a new attack surface area, and that needs to be protected as well. So that's the data in use protection. And our data is most vulnerable when it's actually being sliced and diced and manipulated and whatnot. Right? That's what Titanium is about. It's actually about data in use protection. Right? So that's the security that we bring to the table.
I'm so happy your builds are working, Pakshi.
Yeah, yeah. I found the right link for it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So if you look at the two use cases that we protect, right? So the first use case is where an attacker gains access to the data stored directly. Let's say it's Bolt DB. They get credentials to Bolt DB. They get all the XOR data. Get is essentially a ransom note saying that please pay the data, otherwise, please pay the money, otherwise I'm exposing the data elsewhere. You don't want to ever see that, right? And so we protect against the data store being attacked, and you will see that in my demo today, how we protect against it. The second one is differential privacy within the SOAR, right? So you have two different users with two different user roles. They should not be able to see all the data in exactly the same way. So we have built a security layer. It's almost like a feature within the xsoar product, where the same data is actually seen differently by two different users with two different roles. I'll show that as well. So quickly, our product is available on the marketplace. So you can actually, it's available right now. If you are the 30% of the audience who have xsoar available, please take the time to try this. And there are really nice people within in Palo Alto who will give you, a couple of weeks of free trial to actually play around with this. And I'll show you how this product comes to life within your organization right now. So typically you have an incident. Incident is, by the way, the primary entity you deal with within a SOAR. The other one being an indicator of a threat of some sort. Within a security incident, you have a lot of data. All the data that you fetch is actually presented in the context data on the right side. And this contains a lot of sensitive data because fundamentally these are raw log feeds from Elastic or Splunk or QRadar or one of them. So if you look at the sensitive data, what we do is by default we actually mask the sensitive data, right? You can see that on within this incident right there, we have a new tab that we exposed. It's called Titanium Protect, and within the tab we bring in all the data that we fetched from the incident, and the bits that you have identified as sensitive, we actually mask it by default, and you have a lot of control over declaring what fields are sensitive, and I'll walk through that in the actual demo. And then if you're an admin, right, the admins they see a button that says, show in clear text, and the admins can click that button, and then this will translate into clear text right away. And then if somebody walks behind them, they can actually just click on the other button, say protect sensitive data. So that way, if a non-admin walks by to the desk to collaborate, ask a question, you can actually just, shut it down and make it back to the masked form. So you have those two available right now all the time, right? So that's one, right? And then we also have a job that automatically puts it back into secure form automatically if you leave it open by chance, by mistake. So the architecture looks something like this. So we have a Cortex XSOAR. Within Cortex XSOAR, we have a content pack, right? The content pack is what you saw in the marketplace. The content pack has layouts, has got scripts, has got playbooks and whatnot. It's got all the ingredients you need. What it does is it seamlessly, regardless of where you bring your data from, say you're bringing incident feeds from Splunk, right, or Elastic, or QRadar, or Simplify, right? It doesn't matter, any one of the SIMs. You're bringing data from any one of the log processing kind of, upstream system. You can seamlessly protect that, and you can use the existing content packs for that. So you don't have to modify that. Our product uses the pre-processing hook that is built into XSOAR to translate and an IP address coming in clear text. We will send it over to a separate application called Titanium Panther. This application is actually made available to you as a Docker container as part of this content pack. So you can install it exactly where you would want to install it. It could be on-prem, on the cloud. This is not a SaaS offering. This is something that you get it up and running. And we don't charge separately for this. It's part of the content pack licensing. So if you are licensing content pack, you have a valid content pack license, you can have access to Panther. And this Panther is a translation service. It's going to give you back the data in secure form. And that data is kind of what is written into the data store itself. So this is the bold TB or Elastic of XSOAR. And if you inspect that, you're going to see everything in an encrypted form. It's completely FIPS 140-2 compliant. And with this kind of data, you can actually pass all kinds of audits and privacy compliance and all the requirements. Right? I want to get into a demo right now. By the way, this is a call to action. You can try this on Marketplace.
We have a couple questions coming in. People are interested.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, JS is asking, looks like this feature on top of XSOAR will let customers meet privacy, compliance, and also keep SOC data secure if they're victims of a cyber attack. Is this right? And I know I'll let you answer.
I think it is. It is sort of the feature that the partner wrote. It's like I think that's the right I guess characterization of this capability. Yeah, we are. So Titanium is fundamentally a data in use protection company, and we saw this opportunity within XSOAR that we come from a long tradition of security background. I was lying. I did architecture, like Emily said. Anyway, so but we do know that in SOC, all kinds of sensitive data gets into the SOC, right? So the websites that the CEO browses goes to SOC. I mean, he or she could be doing an acquisition. that goes to SOC, right? Like, this data that is not privileged to most end users in the company will go to SOC. And we decided that, like, not everybody needs to see this data. Like, what can we do to actually minimize exposure of the sensitive data? PII, PHI, they all go to SOC. So that's why we built this content pack, and I'm glad you saw it that way.
Yeah, me too.
Question.
I was so excited. Remember when I told you, I was like, I just realized exactly what it does, and I can't believe it. And I was like, this is amazing. We got to scream it from the rooftops, We got to tell every Cortex XOR customer, like, do you know that this exists? Do you know that there's this titanium pack and what it does? So yes, exactly, JS. You are right. It does all of those things. It is so cool that we've, had a partner come and, you guys are making this product that this is what you're specializing in. And then you're bringing that capability into Cortex XOR. So, that's better than what you could hope for, even with internal development, right? Is like the experts coming in and bringing that sort of feature and capability set.
Right, this is all we do. All we do is data protection. Yeah.
Yeah. We have another question. AR asks, Hakshi, when you say masked, does this mean the data is only protected on display, or is it actually encrypted in the database?
That's a really good question too. The data is never in clear text in the database. It's always protected in the data store. It's actually protected with full AES encryption. It really depends. You can actually do. In most of the cases, it's AES encryption. You can do slightly more advanced version as well. That's how the data is stored in the bold DB. If someone walks away with your bold DB, there is nothing in clear text. Most applications, what they do is, in the name of privacy, they have clear text stored in the data store, and then they mask it on the front. Right? We actually compute clear text. If we really want to show clear text, we actually calculate it on the fly. But the data is by default encrypted in the data store. So, whether it is masking or it's actually shown in clear text, we compute that on the fly to present it on the screen. Yeah.
And then the question I asked you, because of my background in SIM, and I came and said, okay, so how intense is that? How intense is it on your processing power? Like, how are you able to do it? Because I know that so many SIM vendors out there are not doing this in their databases. They're just kind of running some FIM on the database, or, RIM or whatever. They're not actually doing the encryption in the database. So tell us about that.
Right. So we have a patent pending algorithm for protecting things. And what we have is, we have about, for an individual field, we take about 8 to 10% additional overhead for protecting the data. And if you have hundreds of fields, which is typical for an incident, you're talking about one of them taking 10% more in terms of cost of compute. It's actually practically nothing. It's a rounding error. And in terms of fetch and search and translate, we actually are at par. There's almost no extra time. Actually, if you're doing a search, it's absolutely no extra time at all. So in terms of compute overhead, we are really less than 2% for presenting the data, and then less than 8% for protecting the data, and just for those fields. So it's not overall 8%, just for those fields.
And
so
actually,
it's really minuscule.
I just looked at VB was asking a similar question. He says, are you utilizing homomorphic encryption? If yes, then how are you overcoming the computation and speed or time constraints? So I think that's what you were explaining.
Right. No, that's a really, really terrific question. Homomorphic encryption is one of the things that makes people just kind of dread. It's an amazing technology. As from a pure potential, I think it's got a lot of power. It's still 5 to 8 years, I think, ahead of its time. I think it's going to mature 5 years away. Computationally intensive. So we don't do homomorphic. We do a subset of homomorphic encryption, which allows you to actually secure the data, search and find the data, and display it back, right? So that's how much we do. Full homomorphic encryption allows you to do, addition, subtraction, multiplication, logarithmic calculations. You can do any math operations you want, right? And those things take much more computational power. We just bypass all that, and that's how we are able to bring this technology at a really fraction of computational cost. compared to full FHE implementation. But yeah, great
So
question.
the next question coming up is, how does the encryption affect interaction with other systems? Can, Cortex XOR still do the auto response with other third-party systems?
Yeah. That's another beautiful question. Thanks for asking that. So the product has a set of playbooks, and I'll actually walk you through that in a minute. We have a set of playbooks, and the playbooks allow you to transfer the data back to clear text and then protect it back. In fact, the playbooks are kind of what was invoked when I showed these buttons. These buttons are actually backed by playbooks, right? And the playbooks can be wrapped in other playbooks. For example, you have an automatic response playbook that actually plays the firewall rule, because some crazy traffic is going through. All you need to do is just run the playbook that actually is behind this button, which will make it into clear text. Take your action and then run this playbook, and you can wrap playbooks within playbooks, and therefore you can actually get your job done. So that's the way you actually do the interaction. Now, if the data is from the SOAR goes to some other system, so let's say you take this data from SOAR and you push it through an downstream analytical system. In that situation, the Panther product that we have, like this product here, can help you. The downstream system can call this as well and get the data in clear text. So you can actually just transmit the data from the data store to any other place you want in the secure form, and then have it downstream converted to clear text by using Panther. It's an API service, which I'll show you in a minute. Should I go on to the demo, because we may run out of time, and I want to give it to.
That would be awesome. Well. Let's move on to the demo. We'll ask more questions at the end.
Yeah. So I have one request and a giveaway. So there is a URL that is actually seen here. It's called titaniumlabs.com/schedule-a-demo. If you go to this link and schedule a demo, because I'm going to be showing you a 5-minute demo, but you know that this feature is actually quite big in terms of its footprint. If you want to have a more detailed one-on-one demo, click on this button, schedule a demo, and the kind folks at Palo Alto will actually send you a gift for the first 3 people who will do it.
Kate,
so that's a call to action for everybody. So I'm going to jump into the demo
While you
now.
Jump in there and you get that going, I'm going to tell them the details. Yeah. Kate, my producer, and I are going to send you a gift. Producer and I are going to send you a gift. To partake in this, you must schedule this demo after attending this live webinar. You cannot schedule it if you're seeing a recording of this later on. But if you are attending this live and you want to go ahead and schedule a demo and receive this free gift from us, we'll be getting the names from Pakshi and sending those gifts on to you. And they will be, like I said, less than $40 US, and you cannot be a employee of Palo Alto Networks, an employee of Titanium, and or a government official in any way. So check that out, schedule that demo, and we will be sending that to you. And we're not going to restrict it to the first 3. We'll send it to whoever registers that was attending live today.
Even better. Even better. That's the link. You'll see a Calendly UI like this. Just go register that. Thank you very much. So I'm going to jump into the product right now. The first thing I want to show you is the dynamics of how do you get this product, right? So if you are on Cortex XOR version 6 or above, you should see this marketplace app called Titanium. And of course, you can read all the details behind this. It's available already on Cortex XOR 6. So once you install this marketplace content pack, then you can actually go to integrations. So let me actually just go to settings, integrations. I'm going to do Titanium. So I have an instance that is set up. So by the way, in my other slide, I presented that there is actually a companion app you need to integrate the Titanium instance, the companion app. So you can actually open here, put in the companion app. Usually it's a Docker image. You get it up and running. It takes like 3 mouse clicks to get it up and running. Put that URL here, and you're pretty much done. Like that's all. That's pretty much all you have to do. There's nothing else here. So then you're onto the business, right? So you can actually now start using it. So the first thing I want to show you is actually open an incident. So this is what I showed you earlier, that I have a test incident here. And once an incident is protected by Titanium, that is the type is Titanium Protect, you see actually another tab here called Titanium Protect tab. And all the data that is fetched from that incident, wherever the feed is, you will see that all here, and the fields that are actually sensitive, you will actually see them masked by default. So that's the default behavior. If I want to see them in clear text, I can actually click this button, and it runs the playbook, and the playbook translates everything to clear text. And then if I'm done with, like, let's say I need to copy and take some action, I'm done with it, I can click on this protect data button and it will go back. So it's really as simple as it looks. So not a lot of fanfare. Now I have logged in here as an admin, so you can see that on the left-hand side bottom, my username is admin. So what I did was I provisioned another user for myself, the lowly Pakshi. So there I have logged in as Pakshi in the screen here. Let me log in here. And as Pakshi, I don't have access to, I don't have admin credentials. I have essentially a read-only credentials. It's not even an analyst. So for read-only credentials, what I've done is I've removed the war room. Like if you look at the other screen, so there's war room and work plan. Sometimes the purpose of war room is to show everything that happened on an incident. For the read-only users, I've removed the war room access because there is a chance that that sensitive data might actually appear in clear text. So for this incident type, I've removed that. And then if the read-only user clicks this, right, this is what they get. It gets forbidden. The request requires the right permission. So I don't have the right permissions to actually even see this in clear text, basically, right? So I will just walk away and do what I want to do with the read-only incident, right? And I can see the other fields, by the way, in clear text. So I can still work on the other ones, but just not translate this. Right, so that's the workflow for this incident. So this is, and in this browser, Firefox, I'm logged in as Pakshi. I'm going to switch back to Chrome, where I'm logged in as admin. So that's the first thing I want to show. The next thing you see is okay, the data, you can actually get incidents within the SOAR in a couple of ways. You can actually create incidents manually. So that's one way to do it. So you can actually go here and say, let's say it's test 002. And I'm going to put in a couple of fields that I'm securing. So I'm securing all by default, and I'll show you how in a second. So let's say the host name is test 002. Source IP is 2.2.2.2. That's a valid IP. Source network is test 02. So it's going to be, but you can see that the protection applies no matter what you type there. So source port is, let's say, 200. Source username is Pakshi. Why not? Create new incident. So I have incident number 8. If I go there by default, you should be able to see all the data in clear text. Especially if you go to the context data, you should see it all in clear text, right? So under the incident, there we go. Under the incident, you should see all in clear text, right? All the source field should be in the bottom. Sorry. I'll scroll a little bit more casually, a little slow. You will see that there is, the source IP is 2.2.2.2. You'll see all the fields here in clear text, right? So let's actually just change this. So this is an example of a legacy incident. Let's say you have an incident that's already in your system and you want to protect that, right? Because it's not just for all the new incidents, it's for legacy as well. So I'm going to make this as Titanium Protect and then run the playbook, the protect playbook. And voila, so now this incident is protected. If I go to the Titanium Protect, it just takes a couple of seconds to refresh. So you can see that the source host name, everything is now secured automatically. And if I want to, I can see it in clear text by clicking the button. So test 002, Pakshi, the stuff that I just typed, right? I can protect the data back, and then it will go back to masked. So I can keep going. I have a couple of more things to show. Emily, how am I doing on time? Do you have another 4 or 5 minutes?
Yeah, we're running short
up?
on time, so maybe you can do it in 2 minutes. That'll be awesome.
4 minutes?
Sure, that's great.
2 minutes, sure, awesome, great.
Okay.
So there's a couple of other things that I can show. Let me. I showed you manually created incidents. I can also get feeds from one of the existing Elastic integrations, for example. So I have let me just do Elastic. That's Elastic V2. I have 2 Elastic instances set up already, so I can actually from this. It will be the same if I fetch incident. As long as I set the type to, and I'm not going to show this to you because we're running out of time, but if I set the incident type to Titanium Protect, as soon as the incident lands, it's automatically going to be protected, right? If I set this, it'll be protected even like as soon as it lands, not even as soon, before it lands, it's already protected. So you have this option of setting the incident type to Titanium Protect before you bring in data, right? So then now the other question that must be looming over some of your minds is like, how does the product know what to secure? Like, how does it know what fields to secure, for example? That's configurable here. Under settings, you have advanced, and you have lists. Under the list, you have Titanium mapping schema. You can say like what, if the data came manually, which means I'm creating it from the UI, then you use a schema called manual incident schema. If coming from Elastic V2, use this schema, right? So you can actually create mappings like this, and your integrations will map to a schema that is in the Panther, the API service. And the API service is literally an API service. This is actually a REST API client, and I'm running Panther here. And I've actually defined the schemas here. So for example, you can have a schema for QRadar, for Splunk, for, logarithm or what, wherever your upstream system is. For each one of them, for each of the integrations, actually, you can create a schema and then add it to this mapping. And then so whenever an incident comes with this brand, the integration name is like missing here because we want to apply for all of them here. But you can also specify integrations. And then for that integration, whatever schema you put in here, whatever version, it'll actually just call that schema, that version, and then you can tell how to protect that field. And it'll use this one. The Panther will use this to protect the data, and that's kind of what you see in the actual document itself. So
Pakshi,
I will stop there. Let me see if there's any other question I want to answer. Yeah.
Sorry, this is my own question.
Go ahead.
So it's leveraging the over 700 integrations in Cortex XSOAR that are already pre-built, right?
Beautiful question. Yes. You don't have to, if you have 7, there are. Great point. There are many content packs already in Cortex XSOAR for bringing in data from upstream systems. You don't have to modify any one of them. You just choose to bring in data from any one of your existing integrations without touching the existing integrations. All you have to do is just set that. You don't have to do anything else.
Awesome. Well, Pakshi, thank you so much for that fantastic overview of the Titanium Content Pack. If you're a current XSOAR user, please check this out. If you're not, you can download the Community Edition and get that free enterprise trial. And then check this one out as well as everything else in the marketplace. And check out all of our different integrations. As I mentioned, there's over 700 of them. For those of you that are asking, there will be a recording of this sent out, and there will later be a recording of this posted on YouTube for your viewing access so that you can share that. Next up, we have Zimperium. We have Richard Malik, Director of Product Marketing for Endpoint Security at Zimperium. Richard has been a security speaker on 5 continents, which begs the question, Richard, which one without penguins as your primary reception would you still need to collect in order to have 6 of them?
Africa is left.
Africa. Okay, so somebody book this guy for a speaking opportunity in Africa so he can finally check that off his list. And then, I don't know, maybe the penguins would like to see you.
You know what? There's still internet down in Antarctica. There's some people that need security. Why not have a conversation? I can come up with some reason to be there.
Okay, great. Well, let's plan that too. And then even more interesting is that he used to teach royalty or advise royalty on how to make and distribute ransomware in Dubai, right?
That's a little blowing it up. They were in a presentation, and it's always scary because if you know about Dubai laws, you're not allowed to create malware. And I decided to, run the risk, and live on stage in front of members of the royal family, I created malware, and I got waved over to one of them, and I was like, well, I'm getting arrested today, and luckily I did not get arrested. But I don't know if that's unlucky. That would have been a great story to tell my kid as he grows up. So
yeah, that would be interesting.
This is the guy we want you to protect
cool.
the data from using titanium.
Oh. And Richard, you have a poll too, right?
I do.
Did I show your picture? Let's pull you
no,
up.
No, you have not.
Look at this is Richard's beautiful picture.
A brand new headshot. It's just a couple weeks old. So I'm going to go ahead and push this poll out. Would love to know, just high level question. Which would you be more concerned about losing, your wallet or phone? Let's have a quick couple seconds on that one. Give me what you think on this, and we'll continue on. Now, I will say, Pakshi, thanks for setting the bar really high on your presentation and technical demo. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to be doing a technical demo, but I'm going to leave you with some things to walk away with in terms of how you're approaching security in the element that we are protecting. So hopefully that's compelling information. It's definitely not the demo side that Pakshi showed, but it's still useful and necessary within the scope of our world today.
Both of these packs are so cool. So I just love both of your presentations. I've seen them before. And I know Kate, my producer, and I watched yesterday, and we were both taken. Right, Kate? Oh, she's on mute. Anyway.
She's on mute.
Yes.
Yes. We were both like, wow, these are the coolest ones.
Okay, I'm gonna throw the results up there, though. I think this is actually interesting because I did this exact same question on LinkedIn a couple weeks ago. Which would you be more concerned about losing, your wallet over the phone? 35% of you are saying your wallet. 65% of you are saying your phone. That's really, really interesting to me that there are still people thinking about the wallet. And we'll get into this, but on LinkedIn, it was actually the opposite. That was a little bit of a larger community, of course, probably not security mindset being approached towards their endpoint devices. I'm happy to see this number, but let's go ahead and get started. Fortifying mobile endpoint security, or how I learned to love mobile security response workflows. If anybody wants to throw what movie reference that is up into the chat or up into the Q&A, maybe Emily can send out some swag on that one.
Yes.
Whoever, first three people to put that in there. Which movie references. But yes, my name is Richard Melick. I'm the Director of Product Marketing for Endpoint Security over here at Zimperium. I'm going to talk to you about what it is we do, what we're here to protect, and how we're integrating into Palo Alto XSOAR. But I want to start with this incredible quote. I have a cell phone that doesn't behave like a phone. It behaves like a computer that makes calls. Computers are becoming an integral part of our daily life. This is super, super interesting. It seems that my font is looking a little funky on that one. Alan Cooper, go ahead.
Let's blame the platform because I think it looked perfect when you sent it over. So
it did look perfect. I mean, I made it. So Alan Cooper, the father of Visual Basic, said this, and this is a quote that I think is incredibly powerful and something that we all need to relate to. I've got a box of mobile phones to the right of me, old phones that I've just thought about as disposable. Yeah, I've been in security for over 15 years, including my time in the military. And the phone is not a phone, though. I mean, how many of us actually get annoyed when we get a call? How many of us get annoyed when we get text messages? I don't want to be communicated with by directly. I'm going to use this to browse the internet, to use these applications, to do work, to be effective in my everyday life. And that kind of goes to the next point here, is that there's not much of a difference between these two devices. We've got the screenshot, the mock-up of the desktop on the left and the phone on the right. But aside from phone factor, there's not many differences. I mean, can we really list them out? Even with the technology specs, the similarities are incredibly high. My phone that's right here in front of me, 4K monitor, 8 gigs of RAM, a terabyte of hard drive space. My little laptop that I've got here, 4K monitor, 8 gigs of RAM, 8 terabytes of, or 8 terabytes, a terabyte of hard drive space. Ultimately, the biggest difference comes down to the form factor and the OS and connectivity. Now, traditional endpoints that we're all used to working with, and we're all used to having a security mindset surrounding, applications can work with other applications, which is why you need a comprehensive security program to be looking at all that data, the device attestation, pulling it into your SOC, pulling it up into xsoar, so you have a proper profile of what's going on that endpoint. So if something happens, you can go back and fix it. But on mobile, apps are containerized, right? This app works within this app. Yes, we do have an answer. HW, great. You're going to get a little swag box from Emily. Thank you, Emily, and thanks HW for answering that question.
Dr. Strangelove. Should we tell everyone?
Yeah, Dr. Strangelove. I mean, if 2 more people throw that up there as their answer, they'll get a swag box too, I think. But with your mobile application being containerized, it means it's working within it. Now, there's operating system as a whole that has an umbrella over the applications, and they can impact and control. But overall, there is this mindset of security because the app is within the app. It also means that unless accessibility controls are enabled or a risky profile is loaded on the phone, the applications themselves are single source cases. Now, let's talk about the connection aspect. When we go out to the coffee shop, or when we get back on the road and we're at the airport and we're connecting to Wi-Fi with our laptops, we are seeking out those connections. We have to find, to connect and authorize that connection to happen. But overall, that's user-driven. But your mobile device, well, what makes it mobile? Aside from the additional options of cellular NFC, these devices are actively seeking out connections that without you knowing. That's why man-in-the-middle attacks and some other vectors of attack are very, very common on the mobile endpoint. That's what makes it truly mobile, is that it's always looking for the best and brightest connections. So let's talk about this growing mobile attack surface. And this is what we do. We talk about mobile, we secure mobile over here. Let me start with this fun number. 79% of enterprises saw remote working increase in COVID-19. We know that. That's a given, right? We're all living that every single day. As a matter of fact, Emily and I are in the same state, but we're both working from home. She's 25 miles north of me. I'm in my basement. Looks like she's on her upstairs, surrounded by books, but we all work from home. Mm-hmm. And then that's just the way it is. That's the shift that we have all experienced and all had to deal with in terms of security. 71% of enterprises said that mobile devices are very critical to their business. Think about your mobile use cases. Whether your organization is enabling remote email access onto the mobile device or full-on enterprise applications on the mobile device, it has become a critical aspect. 2-factor authentication, connections, whatever it might be that has to be there. But 48% of enterprises surveyed said that they have sacrificed security due to COVID-19, specifically mobile security. Now, there's some other stats around this that get even more scary. 60% of the endpoints connected into your corporate network or corporate data are unsecured on average because they're mostly mobile devices. Crazy. And I take that back to the idea. We all had to shift to the BYOD environment in order to adapt to the COVID-19 scenario, whether we liked it or not. We all had to shift to enabling our employees to access their data. But these devices that are connecting and accessing your Office 365, your Gmail, whatever instance you're using for email, your Slack communications, those are all unprotected, unsecured compared to your traditional endpoints. And mobile threats remain a risk to the enterprise. We see it every single day, and we're going to hit on some couple of examples here. These are some startling numbers that were definitely emphasized by COVID-19. And with almost 50% of enterprises sacrificing their security just due to this shift because they needed to react faster and not smarter, we've left our enterprises and our data at risk. There's a growing number of endpoints and devices that your SOCs need to keep track of, and it is common for teams to be overwhelmed with the amount of information. And this ultimate lack of visibility is definitely making it impossible to understand your current risk posture. So what is this risk that you're going up against here? So let's talk about these common mobile attack vectors. High-level networking, phishing, apps, and device, and where that breaks down. Within the network side, man-in-the-middle attacks and bad Wi-Fi and bad cellular signals. You have those all over. That's actually one of the most common vectors of attack, specifically targeting mobile devices, because it goes back to the idea that the mobile device is always seeking out a connection. It could be a rogue spoofed Starbucks Wi-Fi or AT&T Wi-Fi here in the United States. If you have an AT&T phone, it's always going to seek out AT&T based devices, and it's not that difficult to spoof it. As a matter of fact, I was part of an organization at one time that we did a penetration test on the Wi-Fi on an airplane. And I actually have the device right here in front of me. This little device in my hand, if you are seeing me on camera, it's about an inch tall and about 4 inches squared. It's a little Wi-Fi device that we were able to repeat the Wi-Fi of the airline, and everyone connected to it. And we were delivering Wi-Fi, but we were seeing all the data being transferred over because it was that easy, because people just don't think. They seek out the connection that they need to do. On top of that, phishing, we all know this. Phishing is the number one vector of attack on all endpoints. Phishing does not care what operating system, what phone, what manufacturer you have. All they want is your user to click the link. And we all know that users click links. It's been a conversation for the whole time I've been in security, probably as long as everyone's been in security. Users are link clickers. They love to engage. They love to be spoofed. And it's all social engineering. Then you have malicious applications, either through sideloaded or that have gotten into the various app stores that are out there, or misconfigured applications. We call them leaky buckets, leaky applications. These applications, they're sending up your user data up into the cloud. Well, is that cloud properly configured and properly secured? What data is these applications taking? And then finally, the OS exploits and malicious profiles that could be loaded onto the device. These common attack vectors are increasing every single day, and they're getting more and more complex. And they're definitely a challenge for industries to keep up with and organizations to keep up with. Looks like this slide doubled up there. So I want to talk about one example on the application side, Tesco. Tesco had a mobile application that was set up to allow and enable their customers to go shopping a lot easier. But because it was misconfigured, cyber criminals were able to brute force their way in and steal over $2.5 million of customers' money. Now, they had to ensure that because they were the point of attack. They had to fix that. And this is something that happened a couple years ago, but it's still happening today. Organizations are rapidly producing applications to get out to their user base, especially with, again, COVID-19. We have a bunch of brand new menu applications. You can do some more online shopping, grocery shopping from your phone. And we all have to wonder, even if it is a corporate-owned device, somebody's still going to use it for personal use. Or if you have enabled BYOD, your corporate data is installed on that device, but so are their personal applications. You don't know what those applications are taking from that device, what data they're accessing, what they're setting off, or where that's sharing. If the door is left open, once the data is gone, it's gone. And it's in the hands of somebody else. And until it happens to you, you think it's not going to hit you. It's not going to happen. But I think Pegasus is a big example of it could happen to you. Pegasus is an extremely, if you haven't heard about Pegasus, please talk to me on LinkedIn. Connect with me. Let's have a great conversation. Pegasus is an aggressive spyware product that was used by authoritative governments to target iOS and Android devices. By the way, I see my misspelling of Android. I cannot believe I missed that. Target the iOS and Android devices of over 50,000 journalists, legal professionals, human rights activists, royalty, and politicians from over 50 countries. What's even more incredible about this is, as the data gets revealed over the past couple of weeks, the organizations that were using Pegasus were spinning up URLs to specifically target those people. That one person would have their own URL. So it was a spear phishing campaign that was being used to target these individuals. And they were individuals at all echelons. You had the politicians, of course, but then you also just had human rights activists, people that the government may not have liked. Now, Pegasus originally was developed by NSO, a group out of Israel, and they were saying that they would only sell it to governments with good human rights records, but that's not the case, as we're seeing with this data as it is coming out. And the governments that are using it and that are enabling the use of it by malicious actors are targeting individuals, stealing their credentials, screenshotting their device, grabbing whatever they can off the mobile device to spy on them, to use against them, blackmail material, get into corporate data, access whatever it is. They were able to record screens, record text messages, all using a spear phishing campaign that would exploit a 0-day to install the package on the back end. 50,000 devices, both iOS and Android. This is the same kind of technique that organizations are used to spy on their competition. Corporate espionage uses these exact same techniques to get your data into the competition's hands. It's prevalent. And again, just like when your data leaves your infrastructure, leaves your mobile device and onto someone else's server, this proof of concept of Pegasus is the exact same thing. They didn't obfuscate their ways that they were taking advantage of the mobile devices. It's very well known. Technical analysis shows it. Someone else, all they have to do is see it and say, okay, I'm going to use that same technique to take advantage of this exploit or use with this 0-day. And as we're seeing in the news, both from Android and iOS, both organizations are patching on a consistent basis 0-day vulnerabilities. As a matter of fact, this year, we've already exceeded the number of 0-day vulnerabilities in both traditional and mobile endpoints of last year. Last year was, I think, 26 active 0-day vulnerabilities in the wild. This year, we've already surpassed 35, and we're only halfway through. It's big to show what's going to be happening. And by the way, over 30% of those are mobile endpoints that are being patched with 0-day vulnerabilities. So what are we talking about in terms of security, and how are you securing it? This is going to be high level, then I'll get into the xsoar stuff. The MITRE attack scenario, when you're looking at just how you're going to be approaching your mobile security, if you apply that framework with just a mobile device management application, these yellow boxes right here, and if you want to see this a little bit closer, by all means, I'll share out this slide. With just mobile device management, you're getting barely any of the coverage that you need to be ahead of the curve in terms of advanced security and advanced threats. But when you apply mobile device management and mobile threat defense, you're getting almost 100% coverage of the full MITRE attack scenario when it comes to mobile endpoints. Ultimately, you're leaving gaps open if you are not applying advanced security, the same kind of advanced security, to your mobile endpoints, both iOS and Android, tablets, Chrome OS, everything that you're applying to your traditional endpoints. They have the same access, the same data. They're able to get everything that they need. So that's where we step in. That's where Zimperium does. Zimperium, our Zips product, is what I'm here talking about specifically. We provide on-device protection against device, network, apps, and phishing attacks, including the most advanced threats of like Pegasus. As a matter of fact, we can verify that we have been protecting endpoints against Pegasus since 2016 when it was first discovered. And that's because we're using machine learning to understand what a risk looks like. This is all, if you've been in the space for a couple of years, you've been hearing this conversation around the traditional endpoints, using machine learning to understand what a risk looks like and prevent the risk from happening on the endpoint. It's the same kind of technology, same kind of approach that we're applying towards iOS, Android, and Chrome OS over here. We understand what device, networking, apps, and phishing risks look like. We understand what the 0 days look like. And our machine learning model that lives on the endpoint can detect and prevent that without even being connected to the network. Because one of the first ways that attackers will enable them to browse through and disable your security is by killing your network access. Or if you're connected to a rogue Wi-Fi, they won't allow your endpoint to call out to the command and control server for your security application. But if the determination is happening on device, you are secure. Your users are secure. Your employees are secure, both BYOD and customer owned, and then or corporate owned. And then on the other side of it is advanced app analysis, which is built in there. Understanding what an app could do, having true understanding of, is this going to share out credentials? Is this going to access messages? Is this going to access contacts? That kind of breakdown, that kind of threat report. Organizations need to have that data in order to make a proper assessment of their security profile. What is it looking like? And that takes it into the other aspect of tying into xsoar. Wow, that did get cut off. I think, Emily, we may have had some little formatting issues on that one. When teams have a massive amount of data that you're overseeing, it is difficult to correlate the threats from different sources. This can decrease the visibility and make the process of investigating and remediating a lot more tedious. That's why mobile devices are often skipped over when it comes to integrating that data feed and that device attestation into your SOC and your response process. The advanced Zimperium platform provides deep digital forensics to determine who, when, where, and how a good or bad actor introduced a risk to your enterprise. And with the Cortex XSOAR platform correlating the information with the threat data from other endpoints, you can now triage, isolate, and trigger the necessary incident response workflows. You're automating it. You're getting ahead of the curve, and you're taking all that data in and properly applying it to it. You're enabling your SOC teams to notify and collaborate effectively with IT administrators, system owners, support teams, and stakeholders. By the way, you're still respecting the privacy of your BYOD users. That's big. You're not going to be installing a mobile device management product on a BYOD device. It probably won't happen, because with mobile device management, what do you have access to? Pictures, photos, text messages, everything. But when you're just focusing on the risks and the security aspect of the device, as Zimperium does, we are just focusing on that. We don't care about the photos and everything. That's not part of the risky profile. Now, with Zimperium and xsoar, security teams can accelerate their triage and take the proactive measures necessary, resulting in extra time to prevent similar attacks across your whole organization. You're discovering mobile risks, bring your own devices before they connect into the network, manage the mobile devices, and accurately understand your enterprise's full mobile risk profile. You're enriching the mobile threat forensics to enrich alerts and incidents and help holistic incident response. And ultimately, you are managing your mobile risks. Using Cortex XSOAR, you're improving your team's efficiency to respond, remediate, and mitigate mobile attacks and threats. Now, we all know the Cortex XSOAR is basically the best way to collect all the data, to understand it, and then to automate the response. With it, you're unifying use case management, automation, real-time collaboration, and threat intelligence management to transform every stage of the incident lifecycle, resulting in significantly faster responses that requires less manual review. When you have 60% of your endpoints connecting into your network are mobile devices, and all of them are different. Not everyone's on the same Android or iOS device. Not everybody is connected with the same operating system or the same updates or the same packages, especially when you get over into the Android cycle and you have different OSs within the different manufacturers. It gets complicated. The Zimperium Zips content pack for Cortex XSOAR provides full coverage of mobile threats, enabling your SOC to automate end-to-end responses. We're leveraging both technologies. You're securing your organization, and your security team will be able to respond to threats with a feasible and scalable manner. And it's easy. It's super easy. We're in the store. I keep pressing my arrow button because that's what I'm used to doing. We're up there in the XSOAR. You're able to get it now. If you want a full trial, please connect with us. I'll connect you into our POC process. It is a little bit more of a longer process in that sense, and we have to enable it within our SE team, but they'd be happy to spin an instance up for you, full on trial, POC, so you can see what kind of data that you can understand in your mobile risk profile, and then tie it into your Cortex XSOAR very simply and easily. So together, it's a better together story. It always is. The integration of Zimperium Zips and Cortex XSOAR provides enterprises with advanced protection and orchestrated response capabilities to automate and simplify the management of all threats and all vulnerabilities emerging from your mobile devices and applications. I say that. There's a big news coming out right now. It's if you're watching the security side, Clubhouse may have had a big database leak of every single user and all their phone numbers and contact information, meaning when somebody signed up for Clubhouse, they uploaded all their contact information and all their contact lists. So you may not have been a Clubhouse user, but your information is now within the Clubhouse database because they wanted to correlate, users. What if you, within your organization, was able to understand the risk that Clubhouse and other apps like it put into your environment? By leveraging these two powerful solutions together, you're enabling your security operations teams to effectively collaborate with IT, your system administrators, and other stakeholders, as I've said. So enable your security IT administrators to proactively detect, stop, and prevent, it's a big one, similar attacks across your endpoints with all this data coming in through automation. Your security teams can seamlessly add and extend protection to new endpoints, both BYOD and corporate owned, and mobile applications without adding risk. That means you're able to scale. As you adopt the hybrid workforce, as you adopt the remote workforce, or whatever works for your organization, you're able to ebb and flow, scale in and out. And additionally, this content pack provides deep enrichment for determining the impact of a threat and connects your Zimperium zips data. That's all the device attestation, geolocation, what apps are installed, what's accessing what, with all your other security data and tools so you can fully orchestrate and automate your complex workflows from end to end. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of easiness. I love it. It makes it exciting. Advanced threat intelligence, single pane of glass, proactive threat hunting, deep forensics, but with your mobile devices in mind.
Thank you, Richard. I know we're out of time.
Yeah.
There's a little echo. Okay. Can you guys hear that echo? No? Okay, cool. We're out of time, but I want to still ask questions that came up. So if you can stick around, great. If not, thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to launch another poll while I ask these questions just to see if you guys plan to trial any of these. Richard, did you have anything last minute that you wanted to say before I ask you questions?
Not at all. Zimperium, we secure mobile. That's what we're here to do. So if it's your mobile employees, mobile applications, mobile devices, reach out to us, connect with us. We'll talk to you about your mobile risk profiles and see what we can do to support your organization and its goals.
It's scary stuff. It's very cool stuff. Pakshi was commenting to me in the chat. What did you say, Pakshi? I was like, say it to everyone.
I said, that's it. I'm going to stop using English on my iOS. I'm just going to use Klingon from here on so that nobody can understand.
You've thoroughly scared him. It's amazing. Okay, we do have a couple of questions. So what about phishing links? Is it protecting against that?
Yeah, this is really interesting. Spear phishing links, our machine learning model on device understands what a phishing looks like. So if it's, I'm going to give an example. We recently discovered over 1,000 phishing links being used for a malware campaign targeting Android devices, and 60% of the URLs were compromised legit websites. And unfortunately, what that did was, for a lot of the standard phishing lists that are out there, they weren't catching that 60%. They were catching the 40% that were spun up just to be malicious. But because of the way our ML looks and looks at the data, it caught 100% efficacy on that one. And we're just super happy about that. But that's all on device using the machine learning model that's built by Zimperium Z3, or Z9 is our machine learning model.
Nice. This one goes, if Zimperium is seeing and stopping a threat, is there still a need for Cortex XSOAR?
Oh, goodness, yes. That's a really good question. Because it's not us about stopping the threat. It's about the data around it. How did that threat get in? What was the path of attack? What was the path in there? Is it potentially going to attack others? As I said about phishing, phishing doesn't care what your OS is, what your device is. Was it a man-in-the-middle attack? Are you seeing that phone attack connect to a rogue Wi-Fi, and you're also seeing one of your traditional endpoints connect to it? By using xsoar, you're able to understand the full risk profile of all the devices using all the data that we're providing up.
Amazing. And when a mobile threat like Pegasus is discovered, how does the Zimperium content pack help handle remediation?
I mean, it's about notification, alert, and control. So in this case, Pegasus is a really interesting example. It's a spear phishing campaign taking advantage of a 0-day. Even if it got past the initial response of or the initial layer on the 0-day vulnerability, Pegasus itself was making a lot of noise on the endpoint. And that's where the machine learning would go, wait a second, that's not right. That's not supposed to be happening in that specter or in that use case. And so it would raise the alert, notify the teams, and they were able to mitigate and shut it down any other areas. Now, Pegasus never got active on any of our customers because it shut it down on the device and then alerted the IT administrators. But when spyware, because it's trying to take over accessibility controls, it's trying to take screenshots, it's trying to take advantage of loopholes and unpatched vulnerabilities within the OS, that's where the layer of Zimperium SIPs and Z3A is going to be most effective. Sitting there in the background kind of going, something's not right here.
Amazing. Thank you for those answers and for your awesome overview. This one goes back to Titanium. Titanium, does this content pack help meet privacy and compliance requirements? And can you talk a little bit more about how?
Yeah, it's a great question. So if you look at GDPR, CCPA, there's about 120 of these regulations these days. They all actually just, ask for, two vectors. One is, have you taken reasonable measure to protect the sensitive data that you're collecting? And it's not just about collecting and, in the initial store, but if your sensitive data is making all the way to store, are you taking reasonable measures to protect it? With Titanium, that's a very easy, simple, clear yes. Like with you're not only securing it with FIPS compliant security, but also, you're masking it by default, and only people with the right business can even see it in clear text. So the answer is simply yes. Yeah, absolutely. It will help you get definitely past some of the other ones like like HIPAA and whatnot. If you're dealing with sensitive data in the logs in xsoar and you're looking for a compliance solution, this will definitely help you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Pakshi. I appreciate you both coming on today and sharing these messages with us on your content packs. That's all the time we have for today. Join us next month when we'll be looking at the safe breach and XDR content packs, and keep joining. Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.